Thank you. Good evening. Welcome to the Foxborough Board of Selectmen's meeting for July 23rd, 2013. Tonight we'll have citizens' input, 7:05 Chairman's update, 7:10 p.m. Board of Selectmen Police Chief O'Leary discussion with Route 1 satellite parking lot owners, 7:30 p.m. executive session to conduct strategy session in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel or to conduct collective bargaining session or contract negotiations with non-union personnel, Town Manager Kevin Pecos and interim Town Manager. And then at 8 o'clock, Board of Selectmen interim Town Manager discussion. Okay, Sean, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay. Is there anybody here tonight for citizens' input?
Chairman, if I could.
Edward, please.
Seriously, Bill. This is it's a setup.
He's gonna make a point.
Go ahead.
Edward O'Leary, Ridge Road, Foxborough. I just want to announce to the board, I've been working with Linda Walsh, that's the chairman this year from the JCs, about the National Night Out Against Crime. It's going to be held on Tuesday, August 6th from 6 o'clock to 9 o'clock on the Common. We have a variety of other groups joining us. Hugs Foxborough will have a display, the district attorney's office, and Linda's arranged for some entertainment and as well as a moonwalk for little kids, and we'll finish by a parade around the Common for the families that stay for the event. And I just wanted to praise the board of that. So prior to your meeting on the 6th, if you want to come and join us, feel free to do so.
We don't have a meeting
This is actually the 30th year for the National Night Out Against Crime, and Foxborough's been involved with the program since the late 80s. And it's through the support of groups like the Foxborough JCs that give us the opportunity to have a night like that for families on the Common. It's both on the JC's Facebook page as well as our police department Facebook page if people need additional information.
Edward, that's when you photograph the kids, you give them a little ID book, like a passport book?
Actually, not only do
same?
we give parents something that they could take their children's fingerprints with, but they're also going to be receiving a small DNA kit that they could keep, take a sample themselves and keep at home should some tragedy take place.
Right.
So,
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay. Chairman's update is pretty simple. So, we got another one? Okay, Bill?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I brought in that kayak to make a point. That was floating this morning downstairs. If you don't believe me, you can see the water line on it. It was floating downstairs in our town hall basement. That's how bad it is. As a building commissioner, I have a responsibility not only to this community, but to the employees of this building. Now, I can issue you an order to vacate those people within 30 days. Falling on my own sword, you fire me. But it's getting to that point. I'm disgusted. Nothing gets done. It's no longer a joke. It gets put off. I've been working on committees for 15 years. And every time, last year, you unanimously approved the new town hall. It goes to the AdCom, boom. What happens? Nothing. What happens is we get floods, and they get worse and worse and worse. There are electric cords downstairs, the heating, the ventilation systems, they're not getting better from this rain. You people have to understand that there's a serious situation downstairs. And it's affecting the employees, the morale of this town hall. It's a waste of time where I, Bob, whoever, has to stop what we're doing in the middle of the day and wet vac and start squeegeeing all that water out of there so the employees can go back downstairs. It's time to step up to the plate and start start fishing and stop cutting bait. We've got to move on what's downstairs and this building and improve on it. Do something. It's just been going on way too long. And every time we look like we're getting somewhere, somebody deep sixes. We just can't do it anymore. Just making a point. And I know I'm a little emotional about it, but I tell you, this morning, I just disgusted with what's going on. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Okay, just so, I was actually going to speak on that in the chairman's update tonight. I asked Bob, acting town manager Bob Cutler, to try and find a place to relocate town hall in town. Someplace, maybe if we could look into renting the facility that the library's just vacated or something. It is time to make a move, even if we have to relocate. He's going to get together with, see what he can get done, look at some real estate, not to purchase, to rent for now, until we can acquire the funding to rebuild or redo a new town hall. This board did 5-0 last year, and it got shot down at AdCom. Nothing we can do about that, but we all want it. The employees, it's come to a point where we do need to move on with that. So that was my Chim's update today. Bill stole my gusto. So other than that, being 7:05, 7:10, close enough.
Mark, before you go on,
Yes, sir.
You got one board saying, another board shut it down. In fairness, we did vote 5-0, but during the process of AdCom, they didn't just shut it down. The finance plan fell apart.
Right, you're right.
We had too much speculation. We could not pay for it with the plan that this town hall came up with.
Right.
So it's not like it went to AdCom and they just said, we don't think it's worth it. There was more to it than that. So,
Right.
Arguably, we need to move forward with it, but not to put I didn't want to make it sound like we put
Right.
the
No,
blame
you're
on
right.
AdCom.
Absolutely. But, so
It's a funding issue, and it's putting it in a process where we can afford it with a plan that makes sense.
and everybody here wants to move on with it. And we just have to, work together. We'll get some new guidance here, and we're going to move forward.
Randy might have some insight.
Anything else, Randy?
Since the finance plan's now been mentioned, yes, there is something else.
Before we go, are we getting close to an agenda situation here where we're discussing this forward? I mean,
Fine, well, I'll just,
I'm going to let you speak, but
no, that's
don't
all right.
anybody
I respect the point. I'll just say that, that this project still could have gone forward regardless. If the board showed the leadership and said, this is a priority, it can happen. It can definitely happen. We've shown 6 different finance plans, over the last 2.5 years, and believe me, at least one of them would have worked. And I know Jim and I have spoken about one after the last capital plan meeting. I know it can work if the board just makes it a priority. Thank you.
And just to clarify, and Randy's right, I wasn't taking the blame and putting it from AdCom and putting it on Randy. It was a finance issue that came up at the same time that it was going through AdCom. So, and he's right. If this board wants to move it forward, we put our arms around it and said it's important. And there's always going to be the naysayers and people are going to complain about their taxes. But if it's a priority, and we've spoken about it before, the police had their advocates, and the fire had their advocates, and the school had their advocates, and the turf stop had their advocates, and the library had their advocates. The town hall is a small group that doesn't have a lot of advocates. So they turn to the board and they say, we need to push this forward. So it starts here and it has to end here with the help of the AdCom.
Well said.
Mark, can
Bob,
I just
put it
add,
on-
I just wanted to reiterate what Bill said. What he told you today was no exaggeration. There were at least 6 of us down there for 2 hours this morning cleaning up the mess. And, it's lack of productivity. It's affecting the morale of the town hall employees. And, we're all trying to go in a new direction here, and it would be very helpful to, boost the spirits of town hall employees if we can have some direction on that.
Well, let's put some direction on it right now. I'll put it on the agenda for 4 weeks.
Okay.
And let's see what we can come up with then. Anybody on the board want to work with Bob on this?
I will.
John? Great. You and Bob get together. Let's move forward.
I'll give a hand too if it's needed.
Okay. All right. So now we're on the agenda again. I see Randy smiling, so we did all right. All right, so moving forward to the discussion on the Route 1 satellite parking owners, that is should be a public notice on that, shouldn't there be? Public hearing notice? Or is that just,
Are they here?
no, we're gonna move
It
it.
was just a public
We're gonna open it?
discussion.
I thought a couple of agendas ago it was a public hearing. Am I incorrect?
No, we were incorrect a few weeks ago. It was just a discussion.
Okay, all right, thank you. All right, so, well, Chief O'Leary wants to speak on this, and we're gonna move it for 2 weeks on the 6th. Okay, Edward?
Thank you, Mr. Sullivan. I met with the parking lot owners, myself and Selectwoman Capola. We got feedback concerning the draft that I had sent out, so that they all had an opportunity, again, to put additional information in. I believe you got the correct copy in your folders that stated a week ago Tuesday when I put it out again to the lot owners. And I think I have not heard from any of them for additional comments. So if the board would be able to, if we could postpone it for an acceptance vote until the 2-week mark, and if it could be moved later in the evening just because of the event on the Common, so I could make sure that I'm here in a timely fashion.
8:30, 9 o'clock, Edward?
Whatever fits the board's schedule on the later
Whatever,
side.
You got the option.
8 o'clock, if we could. I had another discussion with Selectwoman Capola today again about it, and we both conferred and agreed that I think it would be in the best interests to, again, give the lot owners an opportunity, if they did want to bring any other items up, to be able to amend the regulations before they come to the board. And it gives the board additional time to review those. So if you have questions during the week individually, if you need answers, please feel free to call me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Second one, August 6th.
August 6th is for, at 8 o'clock for this discussion, yep. Okay. Anything else, John?
That's it.
Jim, is something you wanted to add to the agenda for the 6th too on the select board?
Just the title and kind of left over from last year.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
that 10-minute discussion.
So Bob, can we add that too?
Yeah, what's the topic?
Just the reference to, as Chief was saying, select man versus
Oh.
select board. It's
I'm
minor,
not
but
changing my signs, I'll tell you right now.
we'll come up with our own sign for you.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Okay. All right, I think we got some time to go right into action, right? And John, this has been working out very well with you,
All right.
taking the action.
You want to do minutes, or do you want to go right to number 2?
Let's go right to number 2 for Mr. Hill. Okay, Roger, welcome. You get an update for Oak Street truck exclusion, speed control meeting?
Yeah, for some time now, the people up there have been pretty vocal about wanting to do something about the trucks that get them out of bed at 3:30 in the morning and are an endless stream all day long. And they want us to take a look at doing a truck exclusion study. It's a tricky study to do. It's been tried twice on Oak Street, and both times we were turned down by Mass DOT from the history that I read on it. The problem is that, as I said in the memo, the trucks originate in Mansfield, and in order for them to get to 95, they have two choices. They can go south on Oakland Street, and then they have to make that funny little converted loop in that one-way section by the railroad station, make a very difficult, almost 120-degree turn, and then a 90-degree turn back onto Main Street, and then another turn onto 106. Once they get on 106, they can go right up to 140 and then right to the interchange on Commercial Street. That's a tough route for a truck to have to go. It is a little bit, it's a little longer in miles than the trip that they're taking now, which is to go the other way, up Summer Street, onto Cocasset, and then down to Oak, and then up Oak to Mechanic, and then onto 95 at the Mechanic Street interchange. But the timing of the route is longer, so they all choose to come this way. And the origination point is right just about at the intersection of Maple and Oakland down in Mansfield. And you all have seen there's a number of big trucks that are housed there, and they get out very early in the morning, and then they continue pretty strong all day. So Chief and I met with the residents recently, and they had a number of wishes, and I kind of spelled them out in the memo that I gave you. The only one that I didn't want to act on unilaterally was the spending I have to use meals tax money to do this because I can't use Chapter 90 money to do a study like that. And I wanted the board to either authorize it or not authorize it. I myself think we'll fail again because it's very difficult to get an exclusion anyway. You have to provide a suitable, equivalent alternative route. And if it goes through another town, you have to have the acquiescence of the other town. And that's very difficult to get. But, and the study ranges anywhere from $10,000 to maybe $25,000 at the most. And it would require 3 quotes. We wouldn't have to put out to bid, but it would require 3 quotes. So I just wanted the board to give me direction on if they wish to go ahead. The residents are adamant about it. They really, really would like to have that study done.
When was the last one done?
I think 86, somewhere around there.
20-something years ago.
Yeah,
I mean,
well, more than that.
86, what's that? 30?
Almost. 27.
Roger, in your memo, you said that if you were to move the impact off Oak Street, that impact would have to go somewhere else in town.
It does. It does. And if it remains in Foxborough, then we would just change the point of impact from Oak Street to some other cut-through. The next logical cut-through is a little narrow street called Chestnut Street with a very difficult turn off Cocasset Street. And then the next one after that is Pleasant Street or Maple. And neither one of those are really suitable for heavy trailer trucks. So they'd probably come right up to the square and turn right onto Mechanic Street. That would be my guess.
Is that why we were turned down in the past? There was no suitable alternative?
I'm not sure about that, John. It'd be guesswork on my part to figure that out.
Are you looking, just so the public understands, are you looking for a certain time period, or are you looking for completely?
When I have the study done, if the study can reveal something that I'm not aware of, there's a possibility we might be able to find some kind of success. But I have looked at every possible route to get the trucks out of there, and I just don't know how to do it. If we tell them to keep going up East Street, it ends up being a Sharon issue. So we're routing through Sharon, and it's no closer that way. They'd have to turn left on Wallamallapog and then turn left again onto South Main Street in Sharon to get back down to 95 that way.
No, my point is, are you looking for a 5 a.m. to 5 p.m. exclusion, or a 24-hour day exclusion? What would you be?
We would try to do an exclusion that would work best and have the most chance of success. And it would be a partial exclusion that would have the most chance of success. It wouldn't be a full exclusion because you have to have a certain amount of truck traffic. The first thing the study looks at is the percentage of trucks on the road. And if the percentage is over 8%, then that's a trigger for really looking hard for an alternative route. Because that is definitely a thickly settled area. There's no doubt about it. It's 30 mile an hour, and the trucks go faster than that. I guarantee you they do. They move through there. So does everybody else. It's long straightaways. You know Oak Street.
It is a long road.
Yeah.
2.5 miles, I think.
It's 8,900 feet. I measured it because I wanted to find out what it was going to cost to do this.
Okay. Yeah. Any other questions from the board?
I have a
Okay.
question. The change that happened in Mansfield, so when they made that change to the one-way for a portion of their street. That was, did Foxborough have any type of approval in that?
No,
You have no say in that, so if you,
no, that's a local matter for them. They decided to make that little switch over in the one-way that comes all the way down past the tracks down to where the station is. And it was done a long time ago. I mean, that's gotta be
When they-
25,
yeah,
30
when they
years ago.
redevelop the train stations.
Yeah,
is
I
when
would
they
think
do it,
so.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they're getting the excise tax over in Mansfield, and we're getting the traffic, so sounds like a DOT enforcement situation to me, but all that kidding aside. Ginny?
No, I'm all set. This wouldn't affect the problems that the Moore Street residents were having with the trucks. Is it the same trucks that they were,
Moore Street, I don't know if they,
remember about a year ago?
I don't remember that. But Moore Street's,
The bridge, there's a
Yeah.
bridge over the pond that's got weight limitations on it, so they can't go that way.
yeah.
At the old Tierney.
And it would be very difficult even for them to get onto Moore Street. They'd have to come down through,
They'd have to do the same loop and
Yeah.
then go underneath.
Yeah.
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 You know, one thing I know people are avoiding is Mansfield has their own DOT. Their own police department has their own Department of Transportation. Am I correct, Edward?
That particular officer is retired.
Didn't his son take that position? Okay, so they don't have that anymore?
They don't have that level of enforcement at this point in time.
Okay, because that's what people were avoiding too. I mean, trucks are always avoiding the DOTs, and he was
He had the
very
scales, he had everything,
aggressive.
and he was trained to check the trucks over for CDL
Right.
compliance and
And
things like
if
that.
you ever drive to that area on 106, you will see a truck pulled over every day when that man was on the job, at every hour. So they're also trying to get away from that. So I'm sure they'll replace that position shortly. James, anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, everybody wants trucks off their streets. It's a very difficult, the heavy commercial vehicle exclusion study, very difficult to get approved. It'd be interesting if you could get the one that was done in the 80s and see why they disapproved that, if it was percentage or
I hope
alternate.
somebody's still around that remembers that. Maybe
not-
Jack.
But I mean, you take about $27,000 to do that study again. I don't have a lot of confidence that they're going to approve it because they're going to look at pavement width, they're going to look at integrity of the road. The road is too good. That's why they use it.
36 feet of pavement.
Yep. And it's, a mile and a half of straight,
There's
fast.
some things we could do. And
Yeah,
and
the
I outlined
stuff that you
a
did in
number of
here.
them in the memo. And I think to make it less attractive but that's a transference too, Jim, And that's what I'm really reluctant to do because
When you mean a transference?
we're going to push the problem to some other street.
Oh, no, but what your recommendations in here is to narrow it up.
Narrow it up and make it-
The
make
trucks
it
are still
slow
going to
them
go through
down
there.
and- yeah.
But it's just at a better pace.
Yeah, but if we could get a partial exclusion over a certain period of time to keep them off the road.
I think they looked at this on the North Street when the Patriots Place was going through.
Okay.
And they looked at if they excluded the large vehicles off of North Street, they would go up 140 around. They had a problem with the 140 Route 1 turn. And
Yeah,
I
that
think
is a
they
sharp
they
turn.
do have a partial exclusion on there at nights for the large trucks on North Street. So maybe there's in here, it's, the loud noises at night if they keep people awake.
Yep.
That still require this study?
Yeah.
It would?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if it's 8% is what you're saying,
8% would not trigger an approval, but it would trigger them at least saying, yeah, this is a thickly settled district, and there may be an opportunity to get a partial.
wouldn't it make sense to do our own math first instead of spending $25,000 plus dollars, use the senior program for the tax abatement, and have them hand count seriously, or have one of your employees spend a day and hand count, and that way
We could do it.
you can find out the percentage one day. It costs the town basically nothing. People are getting some ideas where we're at and whether or not we should invest that kind of money.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
So-
Just a quick and dirty count for 24 hours.
Yeah.
And see what the percentage is, and then come back and talk about it again.
Everybody agree with that? Any more questions?
Yeah, if you can find that old study, I'd be curious to know.
Well, I'll hunt.
I'm sure traffic has doubled on that road since then.
Oh, since 1980?
Well, actually, the road was rebuilt by Al Truax back in the very early 80s, and the county did the work, obviously, and it was a very narrow road before that, and it was widened to the full 36 feet with granite curbs on both sides.
That also had some flooding issues, that road back in the day.
Yeah,
My brother used to live on that road back in the early 80s, so.
But again, if we're successful and say the studies warrant doing it and we go through that process, I mean, what Mansfield did, their changes affected Oak Street. If we prohibit the large vehicles on Oak Street, it's going to bring that problem to the surrounding areas.
Well,
So
you know, if we
solve
get-
one problem and you create another.
Yeah.
And where Oak Street is wide, I mean,
Yeah, you know, the only thing I'm interested in is the percentage. If it, you know, it suffices the public from saying, you know, all right, the Board of Selectmen doesn't want to invest $25,000+ into this study, and now they're upset with us. If we do our own, and you're triggering 8% or more, makes them start thinking at the DOT. So we say, okay, listen, we're going to do this much, and it's a 2% or 3%. We say, listen, we can't invest that kind of money into something when we get these kind of numbers. If it's higher, maybe we do. I mean, it just gives them some feeling that we're thinking about them. You know, we're not just saying no. That's all I'm thinking, and the numbers will kind of put some perspective on that.
now after, I mean, this has been kicking around for a while, but Chief O'Leary and his group, I saw the flashing signs out there, the stops. Has that had any effect? Or it slows down when the police are there and then the next week it
All the
speeds
trucks
up?
have CB radios, and if the police try enforcement, the word gets around real fast, and the trucks just slow down.
And they know they go another way
Yeah.
because they're avoiding the DOT.
Yeah.
I
and-
guarantee if you put a portable skill there and a couple of guys there
And
for
bust
some
a couple.
enforcement, you bust a couple, next thing you know, they're going somewhere else. It's exactly why they're avoiding
Yeah.
Mansfield. I mean, you don't have to sugarcoat that.
I mean, most of this is pragmatic. It's very easy to, look at it and say, as a practical matter, it's the road to take. But unfortunately, the people up there are really suffering, so.
Let's move forward with that, okay? We'll do our own count.
I will.
We'll see what the percentages are.
Yep, that's a good idea.
All right? Okay.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Roger.
Item 3 is to, I'll just make a motion if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
Okay. I move that we approve a common victualers license application for the Penalty Box Cafe in the Foxborough Sports Center at 10 Belcher Road. The applicant is Alfred Mazeko, the Penalty Box Cafe.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Right.
Okay.
Item number 4, this is an action, motion by the Board of Selectmen. I move that we restrict the acceptance of new applicants for constable and taxi service companies in the town of Foxborough.
Second with discussion?
Second.
Okay, discussion?
I had a question. Where did this come from, and what's the problem that we're trying to fix?
What's happening is we're getting inundated with these applications in our office for people that don't even live or operate in this town, basically, to get their license here, and they're working in another town because other towns have a limit too, or it's a cheaper fee to come here. I think Bob can elaborate a little bit more on it. I had a discussion with Sandra about it. And
Yeah, my understanding on it, especially on the taxi service, is that they use Foxborough as the operational, but they're going to other train stations like Mansfield, Westwood, Canton, but all those other places have limitations as well, and that's why they're coming here, and they're really not servicing local taxi service, They're really doing it to get business from outside of town.
So once again, we're getting the traffic, John.
Yeah, I don't know, but I'm wondering if we solve this problem in this way, do we create another problem by limiting competition in cab service within town?
Well, there's only, one cab service in town, but we got, multiple dozens of, licenses.
No, but it affects both operations.
Yeah, I think, after my discussion with Sandra on this, I think it's time to put a cap on. We've talked about this the last couple, even 3 years. And it's not just that, it's the other licensing too. Is it on here?
Constable license.
Constable licenses too, because, I mean, you got so many in town now, it's, well, we'll talk about that.
Yeah, okay.
But
But I don't know, Bob, maybe you can tell us what the, role of constables are. And we have, I don't know, I read the sheet, and it looked like we had a dozen or more, most of which operate in other towns. I mean, how many do we
Well,
need?
let's go to the constable license
Okay.
after this, and we just stay on track. So what,
Yep.
we got any more discussion on this?
Just a quick, there's nothing in the packet on this?
Yeah, there is, Sandra
Is it the
put
list?
in here, there's lists of the constables and there's lists of the taxi
Oh, I
companies.
saw the constables. This one right here?
Yep.
So there's five, right now, there's five licensed taxi companies in the town?
Yeah, one of those is actually a limousine service company, but they might do some local transportation as well. And then the rest are actual cab companies. One you just licensed recently within the last 6 months and
A few weeks ago.
on Cocasset Street, right?
Yeah.
And then, but, I mean, you just go around town, how many taxis you actually see, working in the town area? There's really not. There's some limited service for in-town, maybe to the train station, or maybe into the airport, but for the most part, my understanding in conversations with Sandra, she's talked with other towns, that you're trying to get service at other train stations, but they need a location to work out of, so.
So this motion, that the vote to restrict the acceptance of new applicants, is this for 1 year or for the foreseeable future?
I think you can make it for a time period, whatever you want, what you feel comfortable doing.
1 year makes sense.
1 year?
Revisit it in a year? You want to make it annually, I mean, with the fiscal year, Jim, July 1st?
Well, yeah, annually is usually you'll go with the fiscal year.
Yeah. Okay, so,
And just to close it, I haven't heard any complaints of people calling up and trying to get taxis, and either they can't get it or the prices with no competition are out of this world. I haven't seen any of that.
not at all. So we have a motion and a second. Will we need to amend the motion?
Well, do you want to do two motions?
Okay, yeah, that's
And
fine.
you want to put a time limit on it that we'll review it annually?
Yeah.
Okay. I move to restrict the acceptance of new applicants for taxi service companies in the town of Foxborough to be reviewed annually.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, secondarily, I move to restrict the acceptance of new applicants for constable in the town of Foxborough, again, to be reviewed annually.
Second.
Any more discussion?
This doesn't affect their renewal of the existing list.
No.
They will
I think
just,
it's just the
any
gross
new
number of
applicant.
them. Yeah.
I think, if I understand the constable thing, it's an attorney firm, Bob, that hires people to do,
What happens is if they need to serve civil process, like a complaint in a lawsuit or like a divorce action, they need a constable to serve that upon the other party, and so they would hire the constable to do that. And there's some other items, and Ed's actually a constable and does a lot of the
Cease and desist orders, I've got a few.
postings for us, those kind of things that need civil process serving, so.
and a lot of firms have their own, so they try and get that person licensed in every town. Is that how?
Well, they
it's-
don't have their own. These are a lot of them are companies that's all they do is civil service process, and so they work in Foxborough. They work, in a geographic region, and some are just for this region. So, but some of them are also kind of statewide, and they help each other out. And but it's a big business, a lot of civil process to be served. So.
So we've got 11 on the list, and only one, the 3-year terms, only one expires in 2013, so we'll have 10 after October.
Yeah, but we wouldn't restrict anything that's on, anybody that's on the list.
We would renew.
We would renew.
They would get a renewal.
We just
okay.
wouldn't let anybody more add on.
Mhm.
So,
Okay.
as far as John's motion goes, until,
We'll review it this time next year.
yep. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Item number 5, submitted by Debbie Giordano, the Recreation Director. I move that we accept a $400 donation from Jake and Joe's Restaurant to the Recreation Gift Fund, and again, our thanks to Jake and Joe's for that donation.
Second.
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Item 6 has been submitted by J. Neil Forrester, Chairman of the Zoning Board of Appeals. I move that we accept the resignation of Eric McKenzie from the Zoning Board of Appeals effective immediately.
Second, with
Scott?
gratitude for service.
Discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
I move that we appoint Kim Mellon to replace Mr. McKenzie as a full Zoning Board of Appeals member for the term expiring on May 1st, 2014.
Second.
More discussion?
Just to put in context so people, there's a lot happening here. I did speak to Neil Forrester, who's the chairman, and because Eric, as he stated in his letter, is very busy and wants to step down. Kim, who has been associate, would move up, and then Kevin Penders, who has been on the board, is going to slide over to, they're going to flip positions because he's more involved in the library. And that makes room for the third person, which is Chris Bain, who wants to become an interim. So,
Associate.
He would
an
be
associate, yeah.
yeah.
So Kim would move to full-time zoning board. Kevin Penders would move to an associate. I'm sorry,
He'll stay.
he'd stay as an associate, and then Chris Bain would come in as a new person as an associate.
Okay, any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I move that we appoint Christopher Bain as an associate member of the Zoning Board of Appeals to a term expiring on May 1st, 2014.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Great. Okay, we're gonna go back to number 1
Can I just, there's another letter
from Neil.
to Neil from the planning board, and it's about, it's similar to the one we had received a couple weeks ago regarding a request for a digital billboard variance going in front of the ZBA, so I wanted to ask if we could just submit the same letter that we did the last time when the craft organization brought this up.
They're asking for another continuance.
Yeah. So we had submitted a letter
That was what,
saying
about a
that we
month
wanted
ago?
to, yeah. So this is a similar request. I just want to make sure we submit the same letter.
Yeah, we'll cover it with the same letter.
Yeah,
Sure.
okay.
Go ahead, Jim.
So the letter that we submitted was basically, let's take a breath.
Right.
And what we talked about, not for or against it, but
Right.
seems like there was 3 applications on the horizon. One was in, and one was potentially coming from water and sewer, and one was another business owner. Just said, let's look at it from a master plan. What second letter would we be submitting
Well,
that would be
before we
different?
go any further, how do we, make this part of the agenda tonight without putting it on as an action item?
It's not an action item, right?
It's not an action item, because we're kind of getting a little off here.
Yeah.
So
All right,
if you want to put that as an action item, Lorraine,
okay.
put it on with Bob for the next meeting, please.
August 6th.
Okay. All right. And anything else?
Yeah, just the hearing is this Thursday, though. This was supposed to be on the action item list, but,
It wasn't on? You asked for that?
yeah.
Okay. Interface. Anybody having a problem with the minutes of May 29th, July 3rd?
The H-111-5 bill, that was that 40B, you wanted more time to look at that, and,
Well, yeah, we skipped one, that's why I was just going back to one. We
Oh.
haven't done one. I was, go back,
Want to do the minutes and then do item 7?
sure.
Let's see if I can take these in order. I move that we accept the Board of Selectmen's minutes from May 29th, 2013, as submitted.
Second.
Discussion? All's in favor? Aye.
Move that we accept the Board of Selectmen's minutes from Tuesday, July 23rd, 2013. So, I'm sorry.
July 3rd.
July 3rd, thank you.
That
July-
was the special meeting on,
Yeah, this was at the high school?
yes.
Yeah. As submitted.
Second with some corrections.
Okay.
On page 3, third paragraph down, where it says, Mr. Gray suggested that officers be split between the chief and stadium security for the game. I think it was Mr. Coberry who suggested
That was
that.
absolutely Mr. Coberry.
Yes, it was.
And then on page 5, second paragraph down, I believe that's Martha Slattery of, not Dorset Road, Joseph Road. What road is it?
It says Margaret Slattery.
Yeah, it should be Martha, I believe.
Martha Slattery.
It's Martha, it's not Dorset Road, it's Joseph Road.
Joseph Road.
And that was
As amended,
See that on-
all those in favor? Aye. One more, John?
Okay, actually, we have two, Mark.
The 9th, yep, sorry, 9th, 11th.
I move that we accept the Board of Selectmen's minutes from July 9th, 2013 as submitted.
Seconded.
Discussion? All those in favor? 5-0. And one more. A lot of meetings in July.
I move that we accept the Board of Selectmen's meeting minutes as, from the meeting on July 11th, 2013 as submitted.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now we'll go back to 7, John.
All right, item number 7 on our action item list was submitted to us by Peter W. Teitelbaum, Esquire, who's the chairman of the Wareham Board of Selectmen. I move that we support House Bill H1115, an act relative to the definition of low and moderate income housing.
Second.
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
So we'll draft a letter, Bob, and have the chairman of the clerk sign it, whatever you prefer,
Okay.
and send that out.
Maybe we'll get some input from Sharon. I think that-
Yes, she,
I think last time she had offered to assist.
yes.
They're very in
I'll-
tune to
I'll
the
get her
40B.
to assist.
Who are you gonna send it to?
State, what was the,
Send it to-
Wasn't this fellow Peter collecting these, and then he was going to submit them?
Town of Wareham Board is
He was
putting
going
it
to submit
together.
them as a package?
Yeah, you might wanna also send a copy
To-
to Representative Barrows
Yes.
and Senator Timothy.
great, good idea.
Just so they'll know.
I'll be in Wareham on end of the week, if you want me to hand deliver it.
Okay,
It's up to you.
all right.
All right, I don't see Leo Peliquin anywhere here.
Right. I just went out to check, and he's not out there, so
Okay, why don't we,
take a recess, and I'll try to reach him.
yeah, we'll take a 10-minute recess.
Anything, there's nothing in the informational packet, right? You guys want to talk about?
Plain Ridge
Okay.
letter is in
That's- yeah,
here,
It's all up for discussion.
yeah,
Well, you might want to
information.
mention that went out.
Yeah, notice to the Plain Ridge Race Course to consider Foxborough as a surrounding community during the licensing application process to become a gambling establishment in the town of Plainville. Acting Town Manager Bob Cutler, affordable housing goals of Foxborough State Hospital. And then Zoning Board of Appeals request for a special permit to approve a change of non-conforming use for an applicant repair auto body repair shop to a motorcycle service and sales at 100 Green Street. And then request approval for a modification of a special permit regarding pre-existing non-exempt educational use to conduct a business at 106 Mechanic Street. And Walter Timothy, clerk, county tax of $131,442.42 assessment upon the inhabitants of town of Foxborough. That was a, basically, we've lost a little population, and we get less of a,
Less of a tax?
yeah, I briefly read that, that's, It's been a few days. I think that's a tax, I wish Randy was here with a tax, I think we lost a little taxation, assistance, you know?
Lost our assessment went down
Yes.
relative to other towns.
Whereas, therefore, in the name of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, will require you to assess a sum of $131,442 upon the inhabitants of the said town of Foxborough, that being the portion of the county tax granted by the general court and apportioned by the county commissioners as aforesaid upon the inhabitants of the said town or city. So, it's all lawyered up in here. So, Bob, you got clarification on this? Oh, here's Randy, I love it. Thank you, Randy.
This is just normal tax that we owe the county every year, and it's broken down into semi-annual payments. So there's one due at the end of the year and one due the end of like May or June, so.
If I heard the figure correct, at 131,000,
Correct.
it's 5,000 less than last year.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
This is a yearly occurrence?
Yeah, it's a yearly tax that we pay the county.
Actually, there was a bill looking to abolish the county tax, so that it was a Norfolk Aggie school request so that they could get a larger share of the Registry of Deeds fees and be self-sufficient and not have to charge everybody, this assessment. And I guess it hasn't passed.
Is that because they're dealing with their own issues with retirement funding, Randy?
That's a part of it. The other part is the fact that the sheriff's department has been absorbed by the state, which is, was part of Norfolk County, and they were a significant revenue contributor to the county. So there's been a reduction in revenues, so the pie's a little bit smaller to share. And then now they're coming to terms with their retiree health care or OPEB liability as well. So that's why previously you saw some letters about increasing assessments for non-Norfolk County residents. But so went down for the other reasons that you said, but we were looking for it to be eliminated completely.
Okay, thank you.
And there's one letter in here from the planning board, you reference it, but I think it probably warrants a little discussion because it affects the whole town. And that's that letter that they wrote to Mass Housing, or to the state, when they did the Chestnut Green or the State Hospital project. They were required to put 20% of that housing stock as affordable and 25% of the apartments as affordable. And if you remember, there was a tri-party group of developers, there was some bankruptcy and some foreclosures and rebuybacks. So they weren't able to come up with that percentage of affordable for the Chestnut Green. So what the planning board is doing is investigating, can the developers pay money to the town and have the town put it someplace else rather than Chestnut Green? And that kind of goes hand in hand with the Housing Affordable Trust bylaw that the town passed last year. So they have a letter into the state basically saying, can we put it off-site? And if we do, what's an appropriate number to ask a developer to pay so we can put it off-site? So this is going to be an interesting process when the state returns back to the planning board and tells them what to do. So that's going to affect future development on Chestnut Green and/or housing development someplace in town. That is going to be funded by the housing trust that we just voted in.
The developer there is trying to change the business plan because of the economy and the way it affected the development in that area. And he's looking, obviously, to give less towards affordable housing, but that obviously affects our numbers, the 10% we're trying to get to meet the state requirements. So Sharon has pushed this forward to Mass Housing to get some direction from them, basically.
Yeah,
What's
which is a good thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Okay, I'll accept a motion. Next, we have executive session. So, let's see, where'd I put it?
A motion to enter into executive session to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel, or to conduct collective bargaining sessions or contract negotiations with non-union personnel. Town manager Kevin Pecos, interim town manager,
Do I have s-
to adjourn from executive session and come back into open session at 8 PM, well, following executive.
About a half an hour
I'll second that.
schedule.
All those in favor? All right, roll call, Jim.
Yes.
Ginny?
Yes.
Ryan?
Yes.
Yes.
Mark, yes. Okay. Thank you. We'll be back if you want to hang around as soon as we can. Thank you. Thank you. Welcome back. It's 10:20 to open session of the Foxborough Board of Selectmen meeting on the 23rd of July. We are going to probably make a release statement in a couple of weeks. That's what we're hoping to do. And at this point in time, I can't tell you much more than that. And we are just going to adjourn at this point. We're not going to have any more discussions on the next agenda item, which was interim town manager. We're not going to have that tonight. That'll be moved to the next meeting also. All right, so thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Is the town manager back?
Frank, we all set?
I mean, I just want, I mean,
I think you can say that.
I'm not going to answer anything right now. I'm waiting for the TV to be off. The motion to adjourn is what I'm drawing right now. Is there a motion to adjourn? I'll answer you.
I think just a
This is
quick
very
statement that
uncomfortable.
says, you know,
I mean, it's the man here, you know.
What, Leo?
Bob Cutler has been the acting town manager, and he's going to continue for the short duration until we can come up with, we're very close in a couple weeks.
Close?
But Bob Cutler is the acting town manager for the time being.
Thank you.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All's in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Frank.